So looking at these moves that the Hornets have made this offseason, what does this tell you their plan is going forward? Like, in your opinion.
Let me speak to this first, man. Because I'm not going to lie, man. Mitch Kupchak, he had a press conference about a week ago, and I did not like the answer. I have to be honest, man. That was not an answer I was looking for. Basically, Mitch Kupchak was asked, hey, are you guys, I hate to use this word, tanking, rebuilding, whatever you want to call it, or are you guys looking to build toward the future? And Mitch's answer was basically like, well, we don't know yet. Bro, how long you need to take?
No, the worst thing was, this kind of made me like, does he know what he's doing? But he said, somebody asked him, what's your justification for getting Rozier?
Right.
He's like, well, if he was in the line, he's like, he would be a lottery pick this year. I'm like, you could have said that a little better.
Right. You could explain a little better.
I think he was saying him coming out, he was a lottery pick to us.
Well, here's what I think. I think Mitch Kupchak is playing mind games. I think he's deliberately saying this stuff so that everyone think less of him, that nothing is really going to come out. And in 3 or 4 years, when things have changed, now he's going to be like, Kool-Aid smile. Like, yeah, look what we did. Mm-hmm. But let me say this. I'm going to let you guys go. Everyone is criticizing Mitch Kupchak right now. Everyone is questioning Mitch Kupchak right now. But when Mitch Kupchak first signed as the GM, he was universally loved and accepted by the Charlotte fan base.
Let me cut you off. Was that simply because he replaced Rich Cho?
Nope, it was because of that Laker connection, because he's a household. But I'm going to tell you something. There's a guy on this panel right now by the name of Vince Dunlap who was not for that Mitch Kupchak signing. He was not for it. And now here we are 2 years later, and the entire fan base is looking at Mitch Kupchak like a fool. And I'm like, this is what y'all get when you guys constantly want somebody simply because of namesake. Just because someone has a big name, a big profile, doesn't equate to success. But you got what you wanted, and now you have to deal with the trials and tribulation while they try and build a team.
Gotcha.
Fair point.
But to answer your question, what do I want them to do going forward? I don't want them to make any big signings. Rozier needs to be the last splash that they make over the next couple of years. And if you look at their books, if you go to 2022, not counting the players that we just drafted this year, they only have $24 million tied up in their cap space. And 18 of that is simply Rozier. And the other 5 is Bridges. So, and I kind of mentioned this earlier in the week. If you look at what the Clippers did, if you look at what Brooklyn did, if we follow their blueprint, in 3 years, we can have a pretty legitimate squad. Now, we have $80 million cap hold for other players, but I don't think this fan base is at the point to where they understand what a cap hold is. So we're going to leave that conversation alone. I just wanted to throw it out there that I am aware of the cap hold, but I just want them to take the youth. Let the youth.
Somebody hate on you about that if you didn't say it.
I just want them to let the youth develop as much as possible. The kid that we drafted last year, who's over Lithuania playing, he's on this year's summer league team, but he didn't play at all last year. Bring him in, let those guys play, and in 2 years we'll have enough money in cap space to bring in some legitimate players.
Let me speak to that as well. What's this? I'm gonna screw this saying up, but because I'll
try and help you out.
What's the saying? You have to understand your history to know where you're going. Is that?
To know where you're going, you have to know where you've been.
Thank you.
Or where you come from.
Thank you.
Something like that.
So I want to give everybody some history. Back during the Steven Jackson, Gerald Wallace days of the Bobcats. Okay, so we started that team with like Raja Bell as a shooting guard, and that team was going nowhere.
Nowhere fast.
So Bobcats manager said, all right, we got to do something to make this team better right now. We don't want to go into another season where we have another lottery pick. So they made the trade for Steven Jackson. They traded Roger Bell and AC Law for Steven Jackson. You look at that on paper and you say, man, that's a good trade. Bobcats won that trade. We make the playoffs. We go out in the first round. And I just a nugget. We probably could have been a 6 seed that year, but we just ran into the worst matchup in Orlando Magic, who came out the East that year. I just want to throw that out there. We went
4-0 against the LeBron James-led Cavaliers that regular season.
I'm glad you brought that up. So We have that team. The next year, they say, okay, we're in salary cap hell. Our finances are bad. We need to blow it up. We need to get rid of Gerald Wallace and Steven Jackson. We got 2 lottery picks for Gerald Wallace ultimately. Okay?
Sure did.
So you look at that on paper and you say, man,
It's a good return.
that's a great return. But guess what? You draft Bismack Biyombo, one of those draft picks. That kind of hampers your future a little bit. Let's call a spade a spade.
Right.
We're not even gonna mention who we drafted Bismack Biyombo in front of, because that'll just make me depressed.
Ooh, don't do that.
So ultimately, the point that I'm trying to make here is that do not repeat history again. Okay? Now, if you want to go that route that you did the first time the Bobcats, where you blew it up, you have got to make sure you do your homework on draft picks.
Gotcha.
Now, as far as the direction I think
Wait.
going,
My bad for cutting you off again. For those of you that are watching and those of you that are listening, I just want to point out the fact that everything that Jamal just spit off, he did this with no notes, no notepad, no computer. This all came right off of the dome. Okay,
He's a true Hornets fan.
so for all
Don't
you
question the
suckers
fandom.
that are always bringing that I've been here since '88 bull crap. Stop it. All right, stop it. All right,
He's been
Jamal.
following since '88 loyally.
there you go.
All right,
There you
Jamal,
go.
you got it.
But the thing is, if like the direction I believe they need to go into, they need to do a youth movement. They need to do a youth movement, and they need to get rid of bad money. That's 2 very easy objectives.
Shout outs to Nick Batum.
Not to say that that's going to be easy to pull off, because again, you have to do your homework on draft picks. I want the Hornets to have a sustainable future. Here's another thing with that Bobcat situation. We draft MKG, second pick. Okay. We went from 7 wins to 21 wins.
Cody with number 4.
But here's the thing, though. I think they panicked and they said, we don't want to go another 5 years. Let's go out and get Al Jefferson, who's not a bad player. Mm-hmm. We loved Al. We loved Al while he was here, okay?
And he loved Bojangles.
And marijuana.
So we have that team who is a decent team, who was a half game out of the 3rd seed one year, okay? But it's not a contender. I don't want the Hornets to panic again and make an emergency signing just for whatever reason. I want a sustainable future. And to have a sustainable future, you have got to nail your draft picks, you have got to do your homework, and you have got to be patient. I know fans don't want to hear you got to be patient. But you got to be patient.
But Jamal, we were patient for 30 years.
Man, look, that OG Hornets franchise has nothing to do with the current Hornets franchise. It just doesn't. I don't care what anybody says. I feel like I'm being long-winded, so I'll move on. Man.
Personally, what I would like to do is I would like to clear the books, utilize our cap space as opportunities to gain picks. So, say Boston needs to get under the cap. And like, hey, man, we got this Memphis pick and this other pick, but you guys need to take on the Gordon Hayward for another 2 years.
I do that.
I do that in a heartbeat because it gives you the opportunity to pick up picks, and maybe you can flip Gordon in the year where he's expiring.
Yeah,
and just keep cycling those picks in and out.
I'd also do that with Andrew Wiggins.
and you know who's in the process?
He's young enough.
You know who's in the process of weighing that exact blueprint right now?
Who?
The Thunder. OKC Thunder.
They got like 11 picks.
They got like 7 first-round picks just from George and Westbrook. 7 first-round picks.
I think the Clippers overpaid, but they had to because it was a package.
Well, and here's the deal. When Toronto gave up everything that they gave up for Kawhi, it was looked at that they lost that deal, but they got a championship out of it.
Yeah, you get a championship. You don't lose the deal.
You don't lose
the
it.
deal.
So did the Clippers give up a lot? Yeah. But if they find themselves in the Western Conference Finals, because they never saw that when Chris Paul was there, they win, in my opinion. They win.
Gotcha.